you of here is, obviously we talked about keeping the bass notes and the strumming separately, but I think one thing I probably didn't even mention too, or didn't, is even the strums should be very relatively soft. You don't need to hit them hard, even though, and you're only aiming for three strings, you know, but you want to hold the pick as loosely as possible in your hand so it doesn't sound like you're playing with a piece of glass, So and you get a much softer sound by holding the pick, so it's almost falling out of your hand, and that way it really gives a lot when you go down across the strings. It flexes a lot like this rather than being stuck into the strings and cutting through them. So, and I may not have mentioned too, but the way you hold it, you should even feel that your index finger nail is lightly brushing the strings just ahead of the pick. So when you strum down, so this fingernail, no, your index finger. Yeah, that's the one that's holding the pick. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There should be a little light
yeah.
brush across the strings with that tip of that nail. If you can even
Huh.
conceive of that, but
Yeah. Um,
yeah,
but it sounds to me like that is a lot louder than it ought to be.
yeah, it could definitely be softer than that. And
Yeah.
whether it means you also might want to, well, take a bigger stroke at the strings so you get across those strings, like swing further, like follow through more with your downstroke, so that you get across the
Okay.
strings a little faster too. Like um, not like this. I'm very stiff, and you could almost hear each string individually, depending on how the zoom thing sounds. But it shouldn't sound like that. It should sound like this. It's like a quick, snappy move to really get across the strings fast.
Okay.
They were trying to get there. I wasn't 100% sure, but it seemed like a lot of times when you're doing those hammer-ons, I don't think you're hammering it on fast enough. I think you're kind of timing it to where the hammer-on almost lands when you're strumming the next one, like this. Does that what it sounded like to you when you're playing it?
Um,
Or
some
does it
of it.
sound more like this?
Yeah. I
So,
want it to,
yeah,
I want it to be quicker than that, though. Right?
on the hammer-on I'm talking about now. Yeah, let me do it again.
Okay. 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 Let me do the whole thing here. So, there we go. Okay. Yeah, right there, I did that. Yeah.
Yeah, on the C. Yeah, so
Yeah.
a couple of the ones on the E minor were really good. Can you hear the difference then of what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can. I get that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me try that one more time. Okay.
Careful, careful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. On that last G, you had your first finger
Yeah,
still left over from where it was on a C chord. When you went from the C to the G,
somewhere else. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But that's okay. That was better though. Those that's the hammer-on sounds that we're looking for. Yeah,
Okay.
that was good. Um, one other thing. Oh, just a little sideline on this. When it has the quick change at the end from G to C and back to G, like at the end of the chorus, it'd be better to play a C7 chord there for a couple of reasons. One is just for extra practice playing a chord that's harder than C, because you got to get another finger on. But and they don't use a C7 there. But yeah, but the reason I'd play it there is because they sing the note that makes C C7. It's the melody note. So if we were singing this, you'd be singing this, right? Falling, yes I'm falling, and she keeps calling me back again. So they sing that B flat that is in a C7 chord. It's the melody note. And so if you play a C7 right there, you'll hear the melody a little bit better. You'll hear how it sounds a little bit more like the song. It's going to sound real bluesy because that's exactly what that does. C7 has got a whole different sound. But so they throw a blues twist in on this by singing the note B flat there.
Okay, but I'm picking that up on the strum.
Yeah, you'd only hear it on the strum.
Yeah, just on the strum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
because you're still going to hit a bass note first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Still doing.
Yeah. And that's it, because it's only one measure of that C.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's here. Right there.
No, 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 not there. In the chorus, when we're starting on the D chord. Not yet.
Oh,
No,
here.
no, not this one. Not this one. The next C. Finish. Keep going. And then right back. You're done. You're done. Now right back to G. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where that'd be a nice little addition.
Okay. 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 Just come- Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay. So the quick longer stroke that
Yeah, it's like you really got to snap that wrist. It's like it's
here so you loosen the pickup there. Uh,
yeah.
but you don't. You're there's no concern when you go back to hit the next bass note. It's still kind of in the loose position. You can still hit that.
That's a good question. Let me think about that. Boy, I think there's a subtle change in how I hold it. Like I do grab it a little harder when I'm hitting a bass note. I put a
Okay.
little extra, because I want to be able to hit that bass note harder, and not lose it. So I think there is a slight change in pressure, when you hit a bass note and when you strum. Bam. Yeah, because if I don't grab on just a little more when I'm hitting a bass note, it could fly out. So it's that final line, I guess, that what I'm talking about is you got to find the exact right amount of pressure for how hard you're going to hit the strings.
Right. 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 Okay. So through and snap. See, my snap, I feel like when I hit it hard.
See, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay, because you know what? That was sounding a lot better. I mean, there was definitely better smooth. It was smoother and more connected.
Okay.
That sound you were getting there.
Okay.
Good.
All right. All right. Well, that's
Hopefully that was kind of fun to mess around with.
yeah, that is. And I took on the transposed.
Oh, the introduction. Okay.
Yeah, and there similarly, the timing is a challenge on that.
Yeah. So what's unusual? What's the rhythm of those notes?
Well, there's three pairs of eighth notes per measure.
Yeah, probably. But they're triplets is the important thing. In other words, they're in sets of three.
Yes.
Da 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 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? And um, and I think they're triplet half notes or quarter notes. I'll have to look at it. But in either case, the timing this is like a completely different technique than happens in the rest of the song. You know, because what we have to do here, this is a little bit weird with the right hand. You know, the left hand is not too hard. These chords are pretty easy. These pairs of notes are pretty easy to reach, right?
Right.
Um, oh, I know where. Okay, now I had the wrong song in my head. Okay, so you play. It's actually a set of 6 notes on each
Yeah.
in each group, right? But they are in 2 groups of 3, and the second group of 3 is like upside down from the first group. You know, so you play these 6 notes, and if the beats are going like this, 2, 3, 4, whatever the notes were, I forget exactly, but you could that hopefully that sounded really strange because I'm tapping 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I did that without move. I'll do it slower in just a second. I didn't go through the rest of the chords, but so the beats are doing this. There's our 4 beats. I'm gonna slow them down. Yeah, and so there's 3, 3 notes in each one of these. Da 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 da. 1 2 3 4 5 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Right. So. Sometimes when you do things in groups of 3, you always want the first of the group to start with a down. And in the case of this one, the second group of 3 starts on the higher string. Right? So the first.
Yeah.
But so we don't want to alter the picking technique. You're still going to move your hand at it's constant flow. So it is going to go down, up, down, up, down, up. But it's that second up is actually the accent. That's on the beat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's anyway. This is another just good. I know we didn't talk about this last week. I kind of want you to get into the hammer-ons and stuff like that. But I'm glad you chose to look at it because. Yeah, so you do have to, and when you do stuff like this, we probably talked about this, I hope we did, but now you want to keep an anchor down here for this. You don't want to try to do this with your hand free as if you're strumming because you won't be able to control it enough. So you keep your little finger either resting on we call this an anchor, either like, a lot of people like to do it like this, I don't. I think that tenses up your hand to like lock this thing straight. Because you actually want it to be able to move, like right here, my knuckle is touching the top, and it's movable. And if I wasn't playing the first string, I might even be touching the first string with my little finger for like spacing, so I know where I am.
Okay.
Okay. But in this case, we do have to play the first string, so I'm gonna be a little bit off the string here. But as I play this is not gonna move. See, I'm just going back and forth between the third and the first string because that's what's happening here. But see, this, not, this is not happening, right? It's like I'm staying stationary here. Yeah, that looks good.
Huh. Hard to keep that still. um,
Well,
it,
it's okay if it moves a little bit, but as long as you don't lose, where you are.
yeah. I mean, it's actually it's sticking sort of in the sound hole.
That's okay. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Now, one more thing, actually, so you could practice this, without the notes like you just were. But one thing you want to do is feel the beats though in threes. So you don't want to be like tapping your head like this. You want to be feeling this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you gotta feel that three as the unit. You know,
Every other three is
right?
the upstroke.
Starts with an up on the high string.
Every
Yeah,
other, every other one.
yeah.
One, one, two, one, two.
No, actually, so what I'd actually recommend here is counting to six. Don't count to three twice. Count to six, and you're feeling the accents are on 1 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay,
Okay.
so that's how we would count something if it was in 6/8 time. That's like the definition of 6/8 time. Is you count. You've got 6/8 notes and tube accents on one. Yeah.
One, two, three, four, five,
And one more thing, and then we can try it with the notes. So as you say that again, make sure you say 1 and 4 like louder than all the rest, right? But make sure you play 4 louder too. When you do that up on the first string, hit it. Really try to accent it so that you're really emphasizing bum 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 bum.
Okay. 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 That's one too. Where's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Okay.
So
Yeah, I get
hang on a second. Let me take a look at the tab here. Oh yeah. So this tab I had in the original key, right, and not in the key that we're looking at. Does that yeah? So were you able to look at that tab and make the you know, trans transpose
yeah, I
it?
just. Yeah, it's a whole.
Okay, so like right there, are you looking at the one that has it starting at the second fret, like in the key of A?
Yeah, I just went through and transposed all those down.
Good, good. So you're playing every number two
So
frets
the
lower. Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So
right,
the first one is
right.
yeah, the
Okay, so it
first one
goes
is
from
open, and
right, and then the third
and then the
fret, third,
second
and,
one,
right. Good, and then 9 and 11. Yeah, 9 and 7. Yeah,
then
and then 12s. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Except so when you were playing that, you were playing them in groups of 8 notes, not 6 notes.
oh, it was okay.
So try it again.
Okay.
Let me play it once, so you can, and let me look at it here. So, again, we want to be thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Now, 2 sets here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so try it again, maybe a little slower than what I just did there, but make sure to play 6 notes on each chord, not 8.
Okay. 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 One, two, three, four.
Except that one. That one's 2 full sets. Wait. So the one at 12, this
Oh,
one at
two full.
12 is 2 full measures.
Right. One, two, three, four, five, six.
Too much, too much, too much. Wait, there's only one
Oh,
measure of that
okay.
one.
Yeah.
So take it from the 12s, yeah. 2 sets here. Yeah,
So
yeah,
when
yeah.
you okay,
Finger
fingering.
wise,
So I'm going open to here.
mhm, perfect. Yeah. Now, there are a couple different options for fingers to use, and um, almost everything you did is really good. I have one. I would change one thing. So when you start, you got the open notes, then you've got these two. So you want your first and second fingers to play this, right? Then you come up to the seventh and ninth frets, and it makes logic to do what's going on here. As much as possible, sometimes you want to try to keep a common finger between these changes, and you do that from this one to the one at the 12th, right? Because you've got your third finger now on the third string, and so that's the best way to play this set at 12, right? Um, and then then it drops down to 8 and 9, and that makes sense to go with your first and second fingers.
Right.
Yeah, okay, because it's the least amount of moving, and then obviously, and then for the 2 10s, you did this. You went with your third and fourth fingers, which is great, and then you move that up to 12, right?
Right.
And then when it comes down to 10 and 11, you could either go back to these 2 fingers, back to your first and second, right, and then they drop down again like that. Okay, so that's not what you did, but that's like the other option. Okay,
Yeah. And I,
but you did something else that I like, which is now you kept your third finger stayed on that string, right?
yeah.
So that's probably the most efficient way to do this. So exactly the way you did it is great.
Okay.
But that would be fine too. In other words, I think most people would probably switch to their first and second because that's what they did. That's how you did coming up.
Right. That's how you got there. Yeah, I see. Okay. Well, I'll try both of those. Okay.
Yeah,
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
yeah. That's definitely a tricky thing.
That's the key to the whole thing. And then the upstroke 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 4, 5. Okay.
Yeah, and that it's this is like patting your head, rubbing your stomach, kind of thinking of a beat when you're hitting it as an up down
Right.
here, but when things are broken up into threes of anything, the rules change a little bit, or it's like it's a different story than like what we're doing in the strumming part of it.
Right. 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 Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
Well, okay.
okay, so each of these pairs of notes up the neck kind of hint at some chord, right? Like when you play those first two open notes, what chord does that includes those notes?
C,
Okay, and what else?
C, and let's see.
Or
Uh,
oh, hang on a second. Actually, let me. So, what are the two notes you're playing?
the two notes you're playing right there is the high E and the G.
Okay, so we've got an E and a G. Let's say we only had. Let's say we were only playing an E, and and my question would be, what chords in our key include that note? If we're looking for a chord that has the note E in it, what are some of our options in this key? And we're thinking in the key of G,
Yeah, we're thinking in the key of G. So, well, the aforementioned C,
right? And in C, what part of the chord? What part of the chord is E?
E is the third.
Yeah, okay. So one of the answers, when we're looking for chords in the key that have any given note, we're going to look for it as different parts of the chord. So the C chord is the one that has E in it as the third.
Right.
Well, what's another part of any chord that it could be?
Well, it could be the fifth.
Okay. And so what chord in the key of G would have E as the fifth?
In the key of G. So E. So A.
Okay, and what kind of A chord what kind of A chord is in the key of G? In other words, is that chord that you're playing right there in the key of G?
Um, A minor is
Very good. Okay, so and you can see you play an A minor chord and there's an E in it, right?
right.
Now, and then you can also see that even in A major, there's an E in it because it's the fifth,
Right.
right? So if we were in a different key, if we were in a key that had the different note between those two chords is of course the note C sharp, right? In other words, in an A minor chord we have C, and in A major we have C sharp, and in the key of G we don't have C sharps. The key of G only has one sharp, and it's F sharp,
Right.
right? We'd have to be in the key of D to have C sharp in it. So if I'd asked you the same question and we were talking about the key of D, the chord that would have it as the fifth would have been A major.
Okay.
You with me still? Okay. Okay, so we've now back to the key of G. Let's shift gears again, and we're back to the key of G, and we're looking for, you found a chord that had the note X, which in this case is E, as the fifth and as the third. Well, what else could it be?
Well, it could be the first or the seventh. No,
Okay. Okay,
say
wait. Yeah, but so let's stay with just triads first. So let's kind of take it for granted that any given note, any single note, will be in three of the triads in the key, because it'll be the root in one, the third in another, and the fifth in another.
okay,
If we want to extend it to bring in seventh chords, absolutely. There would be a fourth chord that would have it as the seventh.
okay.
Okay? But right now for what we're kind of where I'm going for the path I'm dragging you down here. Okay, um, we want to just consider triads. We'll start small. Okay, so obviously E would be the root then of what chord in the key of G?
E would be the root of what chord in G?
Yeah,
Uh,
I think you're over engineering this.
it might be. Well, it would be the root of E.
Right, and what kind of E chord is in the key of G?
E minor.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So sorry if that sort of seemed like a trick question or so, but anyway. Okay.
It was a
So
very advanced tune kind of question.
yeah. Okay. So right there, we found the three chords in the key that had the note E in it, and we could do that. We could do that for every note of the scale. All seven notes of the scale will appear in three chords.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now what we had though was we were playing two notes back and forth at the beginning of this. And the notes were what again?
The notes were G,
Yeah.
E.
And you came up with a chord that does include both of those. What chord did you come up with again that had both of those notes?
Cap was C.
Right. So what parts of the C chord are those two notes?
Um, it's the E is the third and G is the fifth.
So what we have here is a pair of notes that are a third apart,
Right.
which means they could be in any chord that has thirds in it, and which every chord has thirds in it, right? But you found the chord that had them as the third and the fifth,
Right.
but they could also be the other third, meaning they could be the root and the third of a
Okay.
different chord.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
so kind of the conclusion to this is that we looked at one note a second ago, and we found that it could be in three spots, so there are three chords that had it. Now we're looking at two notes that are a third apart,
Right.
and and now we see that that has to be that there's got to be two different chords that have those notes in them. One of them they'll be the third and the fifth, and in one they'll be the root and the third, right? So what is the other chord then that includes those two notes?
E minor.
Yeah. So both a C chord and an E minor chord have two notes in common.
Right.
Okay, and so let me take that one step further because if we were going to include seventh chords in this, if we were thinking about there could be a seventh chord, we'd have a third chord that would have them in it, where they would be like the fifth and the seventh,
Okay.
right? Um, but we don't need to go that far now. Well, so C7 wouldn't be the answer to that because that still has them. That doesn't have these two notes as the fifth and the seventh.
Right.
That
Right.
has them. That's just yeah. Okay, so that's heading into a slightly different direction.
Right.
But we could take this further. Actually, let's go that further. So what chord would have those two notes? Again, our notes were E and G, right?
Right.
And they were the root and third of an E minor chord.
Right.
And then they were the third and fifth of a C chord.
Right.
But what chord would they be the fifth and seventh of if we're going to consider seventh chords?
Fifth and seventh. Okay, so we'll just take them in order here. So if G was a seventh, E would have to be a seventh of an A chord.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And what kind of A chord do we have in this key?
A minor.
Okay, but we also then just said we need to have the E and the G in it, so it would need to be A minor 7.
Okay. So A minor 7.
Not quite, that's A7.
That's A7. So A minor 7 is here.
That's one possibility, yeah. So what you did, you added a G to this chord, right? See, what we didn't have in A minor was G.
Right.
So that, but you also, take that G off, you also could add the open G. No, open G.
Oh, open G. Yeah.
There. And see, now you've got the same two notes, the open G and the open E that we just played.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's like the third chord that could include those two notes. You with me on it? You follow all this?
Okay.
Okay. Now, okay, so I want to wrap this story up anyway. I didn't mean to drag it down that long. But what I'd like you to do is go through all of the pairs of notes in this introduction
Yeah.
and see if you can figure out what chord they're all part of, because we're only playing two notes, so it's not enough to pin down the chord. And in many cases, like right here, there's two possibilities. These could be hinting at a C chord or at an E minor chord, okay? And the real giveaway would be what the bass player is playing. You know, so if we knew what Paul was playing in this, that would tell us what chord it is, okay? But I'd rather have you just do this as like a puzzle experiment, you know, just for brain work,
Okay.
to figure out what possible chords you have for every one of those pairs of notes.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then we'll correct your work next week on that.
We'll look at that. All right. But as I say, because we get to 12 here,
Right?
12, this is going to be the same as,
Very good. So you're not going to have to solve that measure separately because the answers are going to be the same.
okay. And so as I go through here, okay, I get that. Okay. I'll write my homework assignment right up on top of here. Solve the chord. Great. Okay.
And at the risk of giving too much away, don't look at the page because the answers are on the page. On the page of tablature has the name of the chord over every one of those measures.
Oh, it does. Okay. Well,
Okay? Now don't forget it's going to be in a different key because those are based in the key of A, but just one of those, I don't want you to accidentally look at it and say, "Oh, there's the chords. I don't have to do this anyway," or something, So anyway, so you've got your own answer sheet there. Yeah, that's it. I want, put that in the fireplace.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna be okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Then
what else you got?
okay, that's my I've just seen a face. Okay.
Good.
Well, how about something to start? Something else in the flat picking, and you mentioned last week we could go down the Neil Young trail,
Mm.
and that there would be things that would follow on from this. So
Yeah.
what might those be?
Okay, two suggestions then, or at least two. One that I just started, I've got another student, my student Sandy, who you may have seen some of her fly on the walls many years ago or something. Anyway, is kind of doing something very similar. She's done a lot of finger picking and stuff in her life, and she's really, for the last year, trying to get more comfortable with a pick. And so she's working on stuff like, kind of like this, like I've just seen a face. But yesterday, it was just yesterday, I started her on a song that is, well, like we talked about Don't Fear the Reaper, I think, didn't we? Or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I started her on another song that's kind of like that in that it's one note at a time. It's not this combination of strumming and picking like I've just seen a face. In the Neil Young world, the song I'd recommend for that is The Needle and the Damage Done.
Okay.
Because it starts off with, the first couple measures are just strumming zones. something like that, and then picking out a melody. So it's a little bit like what we're doing there. It's it's a little more elaborate than I've just seen a face, but that's one that I'd recommend. Another one that I have people play at this, for practice on this, is an instrumental version of Norwegian Wood. I don't know if we ever talked about that.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
We did that, didn't we? Yeah. Okay, good. So the needle and the damage done won't be much more complicated than that. But the other one that the one I just started Sandy on is 10 years after. I'd love to change the world. I don't know if we've talked about that one at all.
Yeah,
Do you remember that? Do you remember that song?
yeah, we've done. Yeah, actually, I think we at least gave that a wing at some point.
I thought so too. Yeah, or I wasn't sure. Because that would have been high on my recommended list too. So
When I was watching you right there, it looked like when you were doing that picking, you had the anchor.
I was definitely anchored. Yeah, yeah. And then we go into the strumming and no anchor. Then when it goes here, then it's. But no, it's yeah. When you're hitting one string at a time, you want an anchor down, so that you have good control over the whole range of motion of everything without your elbow, without your arm moving like this.
Yeah.
So that you can see I'm really just kind of expanding my hand and kind of compressing it to get getting down when I get down to the higher strings, and then I just kind of reach, but I keep this down there too. So.
When you're thinking about the pick itself on single note, like needle and damage done or whatever, is it just sort of solidly there or loosely there or what?
When I was just playing I'd Love to Change the World there, I was holding the pick I was holding it tighter because I'm hitting one string at a time, and I want to hit that note really hard. So I do clamp down on it a little more for single strings, kind of like we were talking about in I've Just Seen a Face. When you hit the bass notes, you can hold it tighter, and when you strum, you want to lighten up a little bit. And in the needle and the damage done, it would be the same thing. Now, if you don't want to try that song, by the way, another one that is pretty cool, that it might be a little harder, but is, I like the song better, actually, is Tell Me Why of Neil Young's. Sailing hardships through broken harbors, out on the waves in the night. So it's got a little bit more, it's more similar to I've Just Seen a Face. It's kind of bluegrassy, folky stuff, and more of the similar chords. So if that'd be a really good one to look at too, if you want to. It's probably more similar, probably actually better for where you are, because I think it's. Yeah, I think that'd be a good one to have, because that's more of a typical accompaniment that you could use in any song. Or in lots of songs. And so like the little licks that he does on a C chord, even Sugar Mountain opens up with a C chord moved up a whole step, and then he just does some hammer-ons in here, and really the only thing you can hammer on a C chord is your second finger, either on the fourth string or the third string. And so even up here, Sugar Mountain is kind of a one-trick pony song. It doesn't have, it's not nearly as elaborate as Tell Me Why. Um, and then the chord progression is there's nothing going on. When he's singing, it's just G's and F's. Oh, to live on Sugar Mountain with the barkers and the colored balloons. Can't be 20 on sugar. Then a D minor 7. Oh, you're thinking that you're leaving there too. Yeah, so it actually might be good practice to just practice going back and forth between G's and F's, because that's pretty much the whole song, you know. But yeah, that's looking like it's feeling a little better,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's yeah. If I remember to get yeah. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Get the
cool.
part.
So yeah, so pick one of those or something and see. You know, I think I'd pretty heavily recommend Tell Me Why, but then
Okay.
also maybe reviewing Norwegian Wood and I'd Love to Change the World just to see if there's a
Okay.
good chance that they will come back, that they'll be easier than you remember when you worked on them. You know, because you've got your technique has gotten a little better. You know.
All right. Well, there's always room to make them better. Um,
Yeah.
okay. Great. Okay. Sugar Mountain. Tell me why. And review change the world.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gonna
Um,
be around? You gonna be around for the next couple weeks then still, or?
well, I don't know if let's see next week. Um, I might miss. I might have to miss next week. I'll. It might be 2 weeks. Then 2 weeks when we can do this again, and then I'm going to miss a couple weeks after that too.
Okay.
I'd say 2 weeks from now is probably.
So I'll plan on that unless I hear otherwise. You know, if it turns out you want to do next week or you can, let me know. But I'll mark you as taking a week off next week.
Okay, so
And then next time we get together, we can kind of like lay out the plan because like this one is still covered from last month because you had one lesson still covered from the last time you paid.
okay, so I'm sorry, we're covered now,
You're
and
covered through today, so now so whenever we take up the next one, that'd be the beginning of a new block.
okay, okay, good enough.
Yeah. So
We'll okay. Little note to myself.